I would also try to read the last bullet.
Whatever. Yeah. I'll cut it Tuesday.
I know, but who do you?
Guy that just worked at, guy that just worked at. Yeah. You got that go 3 years.
And then the two of y'all.
3 years. We just
That's
wait
what
on
I
the
told
paycheck. Yeah.
Are we live up there?
We're hot.
We're live.
All righty. Good evening, Northside.
Good evening.
And good evening to those that are joining us from out on the internet land. I obviously am not Brother John. He called me up today and asked me if I could fill in this evening, and I said I would. So here I am. So, do what, Ms. Carol? You were right. Yes. So this might be pretty short. So anyway, we'll jump right into it. Brother Raymond, would you open us with a word of prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for those that have joined us here and those that keep joining us. We ask you to let us look into the Word and study your Word that we may understand it better and show others the way to go. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Well, this has been kind of sort of a week, and I had a little bit of short notice on coming up with something tonight. So I'm racking my brain today thinking, oh boy, what am I going to do? So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my week. So April kind of hit it on the head a while ago when she said, I didn't know you were actually officially retired. So for those that don't know, I officially retired a week ago today. Yes. I was going to say, I think I want to go back to work because I don't think I've slowed down yet, So my week, a couple of weeks ago, Kim calls me up from work and she says, why don't you see if you can get a camping spot at Seminole for Labor Day weekend, because that will be a good weekend for us to go and kind of have like a little retirement celebration for me. So I did, and we got the last campsite that they had. So last week I had to work in Tallahassee for my last day. Brother John gave me a call and he said, I'm not going to be there. He said, can you fill in? And I said, Brother John, I am sitting in Tallahassee, so it's going to be a little bit hard. So I had to turn him down on that one. But so I finished up in Tallahassee and got home late that night. And Thursday I jumped up and I started working on getting the camper ready to go so that we could go that week. And I don't think I slowed down on Thursday, at all. And then Friday, I had this grand plan of taking the boat over to Lake Seminole with us too, so that we could, get out and fish and do what we wanted to, take a couple of kayaks and kids could have fun and all that stuff. So right after I dropped them off on the bus Friday morning, off I head with the boat. I go to Lake Seminole and I drop that off and I get back to the house and everything's going well. And I get hooked up to the camper and we get everything loaded up, and Kim got off early and she comes home and we get everything loaded up in the vehicles, and off I head about 4:00, and I didn't make it out of Caryville before I had a flat tire. So yeah, I had just aired those things up. They seemed to be doing good. I inspected the tires. They looked okay, but obviously not, because I had that flat tire. So I called her up and I says, well, somebody come over here. So she came over and she picked me up, and we came over and we ran to the Funiac trying to find a trailer tire, which you would think you'd be able to find a trailer tire. Walmart sells trailer tires, every day. Bias tires, not radial, like's on my camper. So I could not find a tire. So I told her, I said, well, okay, take me back over and I will put the spare on it and we'll limp on with no spare, and we'll see if we can't get there. So we pulled into Lake Seminole about 9:45 Friday night. So we got in there, and then Saturday we get up, we have breakfast, and I decide, well, probably need to go get a tire for this thing, even though it's going to shoot the day, We go to Bainbridge, and they're supposed to have tire places. They had 5 or 6 of them that were supposed to be open until noon. No, must have been a slow day because they all quit and went to the house. Well, that too. Yeah, so long before noon, they all left. So we had to wind up going to Tallahassee to go find a tire. So it's like 50 miles to get to Tallahassee from there. So we drove in and took all the rest of the day. So it kind of shot that day. But, you know, we came back and grilled and we did have a good dinner that evening. So the next day, Sunday, is turning out to be the only real day that we've got, you know, for everybody to get out and do stuff. And so we get up Sunday morning and have breakfast and took Spencer over and let him swim just a little bit. And, you know, he didn't want to do that very much. I mean, he got tired of that real quick. Nobody wanted to kayak. Nobody wanted to go out on the boat and fish. So here I have hauled the boat over all that way, you know, for nothing, you know, kind of thing. So we come back and we decide that we're going to pack it up and head to the house, you know. So we do. So we pack it up that evening and we head to the house and we get almost home and the second tire goes on the camper. So thank God I spent that day in Tallahassee getting a tire because we would have been up the creek, you know, if I hadn't. So we pulled over by the side of the road, and by that time I had it down pat. I mean, it took me 15 minutes, and I had that thing changed, and you know, and we were on our way. But needless to say, I'm getting a little bit, you know, anxious about this trip. Glad to get back to the house. You know, so the whole thing with retiring is that you get a little bit anxious anyway because I've worked for 35 years for the state, and now suddenly I am unemployed, or I thought I was unemployed. According to my wife, I now work for her. So I'm not actually unemployed, but yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's a little bit of an adjustment because you go from getting paid every 2 weeks to now getting paid once a month. So you got to figure out how to stretch this for this first month, you know, so I'm getting a little bit anxious and apprehensive about that going on. And so we get home and Tuesday I'm running around. I have a doctor's appointment in Tallahassee. So back I go to Tallahassee on Tuesday. Drive all the way over there, have this early morning appointment, you know, and go back by Quincy over there, our property in Quincy. And one of the things we talked about doing was getting my dad's truck over here, getting it running and getting it back over so we've got another spare vehicle. So we stopped the other day and checked on it. Of course, it's been sitting there for 13 years, so there is no battery in this thing anymore, and tires are almost on the ground and all this stuff. So I get over and I start WD-40 and everything I can find, and I finally do get the ignition to turn over so that we can at least turn the steering wheel to pull this thing out of where it's sitting. And I start blowing up tires. I squatted down there and I started hooking that air compressor up, and the biggest red wasp you have ever seen popped down and popped me on the wrist right there. So you can't see it from there, but the back of his left hand is swollen and the wrist, and it itches and everything else. So I had no sleep last night. Well, that little rascal got me good. It's all right. I got him back. I took the WD-40 and sprayed me a big jet of flame up in that wheel well up in there to figure out where they were coming from. And it turns out they were in the fuel door on that truck. So there must have been about 50 red wasps that came out of that fuel door on that thing. And when I finally eased it open with a stick and I looked, that wasp nest would have laid in the palm of my hand. That was a huge red wasp nest. Well, that old truck's got 2 doors on it. So I thought, oh, I bet you there's a surprise in the other one. So I sprayed it. Sure enough, you know, there was another one in that one. You know, so we get home yesterday and it's been a real fun day. And I get to the house and open up the mailbox. Surprise, surprise, my retirement benefits check has come early. I'm like, hey, all right. Yeah. So this is my lump sum payment for my time that I did in drop kind of thing, which is a deferred retirement option. You actually retire in place for up to 5 years, and then they will pay you your retirement each month. They put it on an account. When you leave, they'll send you the check. Well, I wasn't counting on getting that for about 6 weeks, but it came yesterday. So here I am. I'm happy as a clam, you know. And I get up this morning. I'm going to head to the bank, and my son says, hey, you remember you were going to take me to the dentist today? Okay. All right. So now I got to do that. So I run to the bank. I hand it to them, and they said, well, it's going to be 2 weeks before you get your money. This isn't a government check. I'm like, wait a minute. It's a state of Florida warrant. Oh, yeah, but this is not a federal government check, so we hold that for you. All right, so here we go. Roller coaster time, you know. The stuff I want to do with it. So now I get to wait again, you know, kind of thing. So I get home. I take my son, and we're headed up to Dothan. I get a phone call from Brother John. He said, can you fill it for me tonight? And I'm like, all right, how am I going to pull this one off? I already turned him down last week, so I wasn't going to do it again. So I'm like, all right, we'll make this work somehow, kind of thing. So I come home from town. We haven't left from the dentist yet. He called me in on the way back home, from town, and I'm pulling in the driveway thinking, all right, what am I going to do for tonight? What am I going to say, and how am I going to pull this one off? Lord, you got to help me here. I'm kind of at a loss. So I get home, and I should have went in and immediately sat down and started trying to figure something out. But I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go relax. So like me and Forrest Gump, I enjoy mowing the grass, to get out and relax a little bit. So I did what I shouldn't have, and I went out and I jumped on the lawnmower. Well, I made about 2 rounds, and the belt came off and broke. So I did what I was supposed to do. I went in and sat down, and I started working on what I was going to say tonight, So then I took – he does have a way of redirecting you when you're headed off on the wrong direction, kind of thing. So we go up to the dentist office today, and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm actually with this iPad in my lap, and I'm doing notes and stuff, what I want to do and say. And so, I got it all done. We got home, and we got home right at almost 5 o'clock. So we were sweating it. We made it. We got here, and so here we are. So it's been a little bit of an anxious week, for me. And when it gets anxious like that, you have this tendency to, well, what can I do to fix it? What can I do to fix it? Kind of thing. That's me. When I make up my mind I want to do something, I know what I want to do. I want to go do it. It's like this morning, I wanted the money. I didn't want to have to wait 2 weeks for the money because I got plans for the money. Well, it just doesn't work that way sometimes. So you get anxious and you get upset. So how was y'all's week? I mean, so good. I'm glad somebody was having a good week because I haven't slowed down and it's been real fun. So I was sitting there thinking this morning, well, what do we do? And the answer was, well, there's nothing I can do about this thing. So what does the Bible tell us that we're supposed to do? So I thought about that, and that turned out to be my answer. So in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So there's our answer. When it doesn't seem to work the way we think it should work, maybe it's because we're not doing it the way God wants it done, and we really need to go to Him rather than trying to figure out ourselves. Let Him guide us in what He wants done. Hence my lawnmower belt laying in the yard in 3 or 4 pieces to get my attention, to get me to go back inside and do what I'm supposed to do. So I came to the conclusion that was what I needed to do, was to sit down and let Him speak to me and tell me what He wanted me to do and what He wanted me to say. So I was sitting and I was looking for, other scripture that kind of went along with this. And let's see what my notes says here. And the other part was 1 Peter 5, verse 7. It says, casting all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. So, God really does care what kind of a day we're having, kind of things like that. I've heard people say, somebody get upset about their wardrobe, what am I going to wear today, and this kind of stuff like that. And I've heard people say, God doesn't care what you're wearing. Well, you know what? If it's important to you and it upsets you, I think God does care. He cares for the fact that you're upset, things like that. And He loves us and He wants us to be happy. But that comes as being grounded in Him and doing His will and what He wants us to do. So, what happens when we do that, when we wait on Him and we really listen for what He has to say and do what He wants us to do. And I thought of Isaiah in chapter 40, the last 3 verses, 28 through 31. And it says, do you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, does not become weary or tired. His understanding is inscrutable. He gives strength to the weary, and to him who lacks might He increases power. Though youths grow weary and tired, and vigorous young men stumble badly, yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not become weary. So that's the promise that we have from him when we listen and wait on him. So better doing it his way than my way. My week's been a wreck. So any questions? Everybody else doing good this week, I hope? Good. Well, I told you it'd be quick. So
When we were getting geared up to go to Peru, Gary asked me to be the leader. I'm not qualified to lead a group. I've been more times than anybody else has go, but I lead David, and on a normal daily basis, David, let's go for these cows. David, go cut hay, whatever. And so I don't have to worry about who's behind me, if they're following correctly, or if they're able to follow, whatever, everything. And so that was, God, how am I going to do this? Take care of it. Do what you normally would do, and I will show you how you need to go through this week or 9 days. And so it worked out very well. Other than Brother John had an altitude sickness, so forth. But even in that, we still managed to get through it. It wasn't something that helped us or caused us not to be able to mission while we're down there. So as long as we're allowing God to work in us and relying on Him to provide, that's the big thing. I can do this. I'm sure I can take care of this. This ain't no big deal. I won't bother God with it when I can take care of it. That's what we really mess up.
yeah. See, I have a little bit different problem. I mean, at work, I mean, I'm used to, when I did work, I'm used to managing people and telling them, okay, you go do this, you go do that. And, when there's a problem or an issue, I can kind of guide them along towards the resolution or how to troubleshoot if I see that they're not, going down that path. And I know what I'm doing there. But it's kind of an adjustment for me, especially being retired, because now I'm not the person that's managing things, even though I'm used to being that way. Okay, I got to go do this, I got to do that. So I kind of have to slow down a little bit and think, all right, well, Lord, what do I need to do now? What's the best way for me to head, and do these kind of things? With my job, I knew what I was doing. This bigger one called life, it's not the case, and I have to ask him a lot of times, what direction should I head in here? Because I really don't know which way is the best way to go with this. And you have to be humble, and you have to sit and you have to wait. I'm not a patient person. My family can tell you I am not a patient person, but I'm learning, and I have to remind myself to be patient and sit and listen. And on that trip, David, I heard you say several times, I feel inadequate, to do this. You are not alone, brother. There's a lot of things that we do that I feel kind of inadequate to do too. And I know the only way that I can do it, get through it, is with God's help. And I think that's the way it's meant to be. We're meant to depend on Him and do what He wants us to do. And it's when we get in trouble when we head off in a different direction from where He wants us to go and what He wants us to do. But
What's the transition of anxiety? You say you have a lot more time on your hands than you need, even though you can set a set of parameters. God finally convinced me that I'll let you know when you need to decide. And He brought something into my life that filled in that void of I have to have something to do. I'm not patient for sitting around. Somewhat of a workaholic. And so He fills all them with the man. It took me 6 weeks, 2 months for me trying to do it to realize it's not going to work. I just need to. And I get out of bed, so I do that from the bottom. And the day is direct.
yeah,
After the first couple of months, it finally started sinking. every morning. I give my direction.
That's something that I'd kind of thought of myself. I generally read my Bible at night, but I was thinking the other day it'd be better to get up and do it first thing in the morning rather than wait for the evening. I'm kind of finding what you were talking about. It's been a week, and I know that's not very long that I've been retired, but I feel like I've got to be constantly doing something. You got to learn how to just sit down at night. We can wait 10 minutes. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal, kind of thing. It's not the world's on fire anymore like I'm used to with, oh my Lord, the system is down. Somebody's not going to get their check on time or something like that. It's not that way anymore. I've got to learn to slow down just a little bit. But I think you're right. I kind of see the benefit in getting up and starting the day that way. And I think it will probably go better for me if I do that. So that's something I had thought of. Yeah. All right. Well, what prayer request do we have this evening?
I kind of updated y'all a little bit on Carson. On the prayer page, and Carson's a typical 4-year-old. Like, he's going to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. And he's probably going to give you a little attitude every now and then. Well, part of him getting better is he has to get up and walk. And I think he knows he needs to get up and walk. So those are, they'll be all freaking, come on, baby Carson, you gotta walk, trying to be all nice, and he gives them all the time. Because he's like, I had surgery, I will do what I need to do, he's a 4-year-old. And so he'll just, be like, I don't want to do it. Or not, so they've been trying, and finally one nurse is like, no, you're going to do it. And you're not going to cry, and you're not going to cry, and you're going to do it. And so that's when he got the weapon on. So we had to have a little tough love. So I think they've kind of figured out that even though Carson had major surgery like a week ago, he's a daredevil. He's all so one of the nurses set up basketball goals, like little kid basketball goals on several of the hallways where they got ball, and handed the ball and said, go find some people to play with. So he go down the hall and ask people to play ball with him. So he had doctors, these high-powered doctors that operate on little baby tiny parts are playing basketball with him in the hallway. And so it's like, it's so good to see that. And they found a way to make him want to do it, instead of being a chore, he has to check on the head. So he found another little boy, I'm sure that is about the same age as him, so they can play a little basketball together, at the level they can with having huge heart surgery a week ago. And then they went and visited a little girl with a transplant. I don't know if it's a heart transplant. She's some kind of transplant. And these 2 little 4-year-old boys went and visited with her. So I mean, that just shows you that they do have a good heart, but they're still going to be stubborn sometimes. But he's doing really good. His echo was there. He got good, and his potassium level was good. So he's checking off boxes. And his grandmother works with me. And she said, he's like 3 or 4 days ahead of schedule where he's supposed to be, where the doctors thought he would be at this time. And she said, there's no other explanation for God. God is what's bringing him to this point. So they're just doing really good. They've got a plan to get all of his riding, high-powered toys out of the house before he gets home. He's not trying to be outside of the home. Yeah. I think when he comes home, it's going to be the really challenging part, trying to keep him from doing too much.
He's out at UF, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a champion.
Yeah, they're fantastic down there. Trace had surgery a few years ago, but that's where he was at, and he didn't want to get up and walk around either. But I told him, he said, "You like to play video games?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, the catch is you got to get up and walk down there to get to go do it." So they got him up to go play video games. Yeah.
He has tennis shoes on.
Okay. So
he's in good spirits, and his sister's 9, and so they FaceTime each other. These kids, high-tech kids, and she said, the grandmother said, it's been like a few days, he's just kind of sitting there staring at her. But this last time he called her, he was just, the whole time, just talking 90 miles an hour. So he said, it's the old, he's like his old self again. He's not just sitting there staring at her. He's back to, let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
So that was good for the sister and for him.
we'll continue to pray for his continued recovery. And sounds really good. And, thank the Lord that he's making the progress that he's making. Before I forget, I'd like to ask that we continue to pray for my family. We lost Jerry Dunn back in June, and the weekend was especially hard. Sunday was his birthday. Yeah. So, and we happened to be down at Seminole, which is one of the places he absolutely loves to go. We would go every other year for a family reunion there over Memorial Day weekend. So that's coming up next year. So it's going to be pretty tough on everybody with us being there and him not being there, because he was kind of the magnet that everybody kind of was drawn towards, when you got there, that kind of thing. So Sunday was a little bit tough on everybody. All right, what else we got?
Remember, the family of the little boy that fell from the balcony.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened. But I think it fell from the 10th floor down to the 3rd.
Yeah, that was a little 4-year-old boy, wasn't it?
Yeah. And also they had found a woman, girl, face down that was dead. And I don't know, I didn't ever hear what the, reason was, and that's just, then I think about the school teacher, that
Yeah.
was jogging, I chase over to the park and, I keep my eyes open and sometimes I think I'm looking at me. But,
Well, I mean, we live in small town America. We don't think of things like that happening to us, but.
Praise and a prayer request from Grace Christian School, I think it's in Valrico. They were clarifying their rules beginning of the year with the parents and the students about no sexual activity outside of marriage, whether it's heterosexual, homosexual, transgender, and all that stuff. Sending emails to the parents to make, clarify all the conditions. And one parent, I don't know if everybody pulled their shit out, but then it made a good distinction, internet world, and then they're getting death threats. And it's a Christian school that at all. He says, this is our belief.
Yes.
So pray for the Christian schools that take a stand for God and the Christian schools. They wouldn't be but it's they've had to hire a lot of security people because of their positions.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think that in there.
No, you wouldn't. It's getting pretty bad out there. I mean, I don't know if y'all saw the article this week about the Disney show that they've got out there, the Little People. If you read that, I mean, that's just absolutely outrageous. The stuff that they're putting on there to kids. And they interviewed one of the producers, and the producer even said, "Yeah, we're normalizing paganism. That the people in this cartoon are pagans, and we're normalizing that. I'm so happy that we can normalize that to society." But if you read the description of what the little show actually is, it's some lady that has an affair with Satan and has a 9-year-old daughter now that's going to school that discovers that she's the Antichrist, and Satan's trying to get custody of her, kind of thing. That's the show. And that's on Disney Plus, and that's the kind of stuff that our kids are seeing.
Plus, why they advertise that on network
Because
television?
it's gonna be on FX.
Yeah.
It could be,
Whether it's streaming on something or whatever, that's still advertising on there.
yeah. They've got to where they cross advertise on different networks for different things now. So yeah, I mean,
I'd have never seen it if it hadn't been for what network people watch and talked about
yeah. Well, I actually saw an article they had published on one of the news sites was what I had seen, of what it was. So
think it was a congressman.
Yes. Yes, I saw the same article you did, yeah.
Because he said the ball game was terrible because it was at the FSU
It was
game.
that.
He said it was terrible that we lost, but I can't get past the second quarter where I saw this commercial for this movie or for this show that's coming on TV. And I couldn't get to the remote fast enough to change it so my children didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's what he wrote the article for.
So our society is, it's always been bad. Everybody always says, I don't think it's ever been this bad, but I am sure it has never been this bad as it is today.
Seems like the further we get with electronics and stuff like that and mobile anything, it's easier to spread stuff like that. That's
It is.
It is worse now than it used to be because used to you didn't have reach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ecclesiastes tells us there's nothing new under the sun, and I firmly believe that. It's just the delivery method has changed, and we come out with all this, you do, and we come out with all this technology, and I'm pretty sure that, it's like the photograph, the first person that took the first picture, I'm sure it was great and wonderful. I'm sure the second picture was somebody twisting that for some evil purpose. And that's pretty much about the way it is with technology. I mean, they may develop it for some good purpose, but somebody immediately turns around and twists it in some way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't much matter what it is. It's man will find a way to twist it to an evil purpose.
We're evil in our heart.
We are. Yes.
My grandmother, she's been in rehab. She broke her leg a while back, like in June or something. But she broke her leg right above where she had a knee replaced. So the healing has been slow, plus she's 90 years old. So they've had to be extra careful with her. So she was in the hospital, while she had the surgery to repair her leg. And then she's been in rehab and she's been doing great. And then she got another UTI and she got really sick. So she's been in the hospital for about a week. Of course, that does nothing but negate all your therapy because you're not really getting the same therapy. But anyway, she has a meeting with the orthopedic doctor tomorrow. And it's to decide if she can start putting weight in that work, start doing more therapy to get her closer to being able to go back. So just think that appointment goes well, and hopefully she'll be out of the hospital soon and back to rehab, getting the work she needs, so she can learn what she needs to know from home and take her home.
All right. What else do we have?
You remember to pray for our youth continually, because they're being taught word over there, really battling, not to do it. We really need to continually pray for them over there, because some of them are right there on the edge of making a decision.
What else?
And so she's having surgery tomorrow in Tallahassee.
Okay.
So, and she was really scared at lunch today, so.
Oh, Renee. Yeah, that's scary. Okay. What else?
Remember, friends, Harley, working in today. And as for us, boy,
Yes.
have not heard me yet. She said as soon as they get back down here, we were able to talk to them.
All right. Any more?
I have a coworker Lindsay that's sick. She's got problems and she needs strength.
All right. All right. Brother David, if you could start us off. Brother David Griffin, if you could finish us up.
Think about how we go throughout our normal days and our weeks. Sometimes we get busy. We think about how I can do this. And then things start getting heavier and heavier, and we forget we have a mighty Savior that will help us carry our burdens. All we have to do is tell you about them, testimony, and you will make our life, and you will take care of us. And you will help us to remember things when we're going through our daily walk. And a lot easier if we will start leaning on you, then we get into the middle of our day or get days away. And I should pray about this and talk about that you will help us to remember that you are there waiting on us to seek your help. And that you will be with each one of these prayers from person, patience, pray that you will get her peace. We know it's easy to say when you're not having a surgery that everything will work out, but just give her peace and give the doctors the ability to do the work they need to do for her. Just pray that you will be with schools being being under attack from outside forces because they don't agree with the standard that they're taking about certain things that are biblical. And pray that you will demonstrate that you will make a stand, that you lead us in each thing we do. You be with Brother John as he is covering antibiotics for helping to heal. Really takes care of them. Jesus.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the new blessings you've given to us. We thank you for the fellowship this afternoon. We thank you for those that's had here and preparing the future. We thank you for the honor for and all those who are involved with this. For their help. We pray for John. He's recovering. We ask you to watch over the doctors as they were able to diagnose, determine specifically what needed to be done. Your hand and pray that you will speed recovery, that you will be quickly direct him. It was grace us to work in his lead minister here. It was his now thankful. If they are working with you, all those who pray for Kelly, they're working with the young people, working with the person. We ask that you do thank you for their schools. Continue to watch over them. Lord, we pray that you would be with the mission group that we have sent out. Everyone should be. Mission connect, we pray for it. Continue to be with the pastors here. Spread the gospel, open his heart. We're going to provide him a way of living that you would provide him. He's being able to touch other people, influence those around him. We serve and accept those Lord and Savior. I would pray for association with the community. Yes, we will live. We strive to serve and to meet the needs of other places in our community, in our area. Help us to be a witness. So we'll fight for service on Sunday. We ask you to be with them as we work on those who are here. As we listen and hear the gospel of prayer, you guide it directly towards to the hearts. You stir the heart. Focus on the word here. We'll pray for those that we've mentioned. You say, we'll pray for Carson, continues to heal, go through Others put attention to her addiction about the attention that God direct your way and in your will. She will touch them, raise them up, bring them through these troubling times. This responsibility, yes, God direct one of you that are here. Please pray for the Spirit of God. Please make a profession to accept you. Word and listen to what has to be said. Bless you for life. Accept you as Lord and Savior. First of all, we ask you to help us as we lead in this faith with guys. We would do everything in our power and your guidance to do. Our gospel, share the gospel with others when they come to know you. That's almost like the thank you for the fact that you still support. Done for us, through Jesus Christ, is that shed. You go to this place, God has taught us, direct us, keep us in your will. Christ, we have it for.
Thank y'all for coming. We are dismissed. Thank you.